This is day 5 of the April 95 7-day retreat in Springwater. A lot of questions have come up still about what is trust or faith. Does one need it? Or it's better not to need it. I don't have it. I don't want it. I wish I had it. This just occurs right now. People sometimes saying with some nostalgia, when I was in Zen training, there was the faith. Because it is mentioned to you in Zen training, at least it was to us, that one of the 3 prerequisites for becoming enlightened is faith. Another prerequisite is doubt. And I forgot what the third one was. Maybe something like zealous application. Something like that. And when I was teaching at the Zen Center, to my surprise, many people who came into private meetings would say, how can I get more faith? Or how can I get more doubt? Can you help me with that? But today one feels, if I was only there, I would have that faith. If this is what one feels would help one, sustain one or support one. And for a long time after leaving and starting to work differently, I never even mentioned the word faith or trust. Or when it did come up, what did I say at the time? To trust is not to need to trust anything in anybody or in anything, but just being there. That's trust. More recently, I've picked it up again because it comes up. People want to know about it, want to talk about it. And I can also say, as I did yesterday with a lot of passion, I guess, yes, there is trust in this work, the work of this moment, or can one say, let's always put it as simple as possible, as uncomplicated. Trusting that the mind will manage to complicate it anyways. Trusting this moment, being with this moment. Oh, you could say, well, can I be with this moment? Will I be in this moment? You are. We are. No matter what we think, we're not. We are. There is only this moment. There is no other moment. There may be a lot of conflict, a lot of resistance, a lot of escape, denial, numbing. And yet it happens in this moment, and in this moment only. And in this moment, and in this moment. All it takes is a little ember of awareness that this is what is taking place. Being with this moment, whether one wants it or not, whether one imagines it or disimagines it. There is no other choice. And this even is not a choice, it happens. being here. And the possibility to wake up to the simple, most fact of being here. As what one knows not. Ideas come up. I'm this, I'm that. I'm the part, I'm the whole. I'm enlightened, I'm unenlightened. This all comes after the fact of simply being here without knowing yet what this is all about. Because the way we put it into language, we say, to be with this moment, or I am with my fear, I am with the pain, with the despair or joy. But that way of putting it is not quite accurate. There is no I that is with his or her pain, there's only paining. And that ember of awareness, or it can be a flame, it doesn't matter the size of it. No two, not me and mine, just this. Sparkling in awareness. Maybe it's saying too much, one wonders. It doesn't sparkle for me. It's just language. At times it does sparkle for people like you and me. And then, of course, thought is trying to take it over, possess it, preserve it, make it repeatable, which thought can do. Thought can repeat itself over and over. And thought about something that happened which sparkled can induce the body to feel better, feel elated, blissful. We all know it. We love to think of things that made us happy. And yet, it's not the same thing as simply being here. The awareness of just having dwelt in thought with its induced happiness, to see it simply with the fan roaring and the heart beating and the breath coming and going, because that's what awareness is. Awareness is what is, right now. As it dawns or appears, it is what's there, inside, outside, as one whole, one knows not what. So trust, as we were discussing yesterday in a group meeting, is not about the future. Projecting an imagined future and trusting that this will happen. This is how thought sets itself up time after time, this whole organism with it, for disappointment. Because expectations may or may not come true. Most of the time they don't. Sometimes they do. But the dwelling in expectation and trusting that, putting one's faith into that this is what's going to happen, is a dangerous thing. For one thing, if it doesn't happen, there's disappointment, despair, anger, hatred, resentment. We know it all. But also, as the mind-body occupies itself with dreams about the future, or about what is expected, is not aware. That ember of awareness isn't there. It's covered over with dreams. One doesn't hear the heartbeat or feel the breathing or the wind, the bird song, or people around one. The stage is filled with dream work. And it's a livable stage for a while, but it may also be nightmarish, producing fear, panic about what will happen to me or to humankind, to the earth, the solar system. And can one discern for oneself? Of course one can, but it's good to put it as a question, not just a blank statement. Can one discern the difference between living on the stage in the dream work, imagining oneself, imagining the others, how they are, how they will be, how they were, and how I am, and how this whole world is? Can one discern the difference between that imagination and a simple moment of being here, the stage collapsing into breathing and fan and heartbeat, wind, birds, and whatever is there in this vast openness of no stage, no curtain at this moment, no stage lights pointing to me and my world. It is being discerned, but it is not, what can I say? Wanting to live in our created, imagination-created world seems to be so overriding, such a strong pull, such a habit, that it takes fine discernment time and time again to understand its nature and see the difference between that and being here. Simple and unadorned. And because of the habituation to living in dream and imagination and a thought-created world, at first we may lack the sensitivities to be in touch with real happenings inside and out. The lack of sensitivity, the lack of in touchness, what is going on, we often call boredom. This is the second topic for this talk this morning, because it has come up since day one, and everyone here knows it. We all know it, don't we? I'm bored. It's boring. But can one, since one has taken the time to come to 7 days of retreat, taken the time, made the preparations, paid the money, take the time to examine, what do I mean when I say it's boring? I'm bored. And not stay with the word and its associations and its reflexes to expect something else, to think of something more exciting, but to, as it were, put the magnifying glass on this present state of boredom, letting go of the word, not knowing what is going on, but maybe the kindling of an interest. What is this present state, which has all kinds of movements and motives and pushes and pulls to it? And to observe it kindly, gently. Meaning, not it shouldn't be there, or is that all I paid for? 7 days of boredom? One person who asked it on the first day or second day, and we talked about why not look at it, see what it is. Said that was one interesting thing. The moment the question came up, what is it? The boredom wasn't there. Or what one thought was the boredom dissipated because now there is a wondering. And wondering afresh, anew, this moment, isn't what we call boring. So what is it that we call boring? It's an amazing thing to step out of one's usually very, very busy, hectic, noisy daily life with a lot of work, a lot of family, a lot of entertainment, a lot of television or radio, a lot of sounds, traffic if one lives in the city, and most people live in the city. A lot of hassle at work. I hear so much about hassle at work. It's amazing. The supervisors with whom one cannot get along. There's a thread winding through work for people. And stepping out of all of that, and how the body is involved in all of it, is bombarded to respond with reflexes and adrenaline and electrochemical processes, organs getting pressured, overstimulated, understimulated. The body is totally manifesting this daily pressure and overload, and stepping out of that into this. With maybe an hour plus of work, very little noise. They may be snoring at night. Some clanking when the dishes are done, or some mixing going on. But by and large, very little traffic, it's distant. And the body is expecting, that's what we call habituation, is expecting to be stimulated. It's been stimulated the whole time and is habituated to it. Like a period of withdrawal, if one dries up from alcohol or drugs, must feel very, very hard, very painful. Suddenly, something like the blahs. And for a moment, that is not the thing one wants to listen to or find out more about, to wonder about it. And yet talking about it, it's a possibility, isn't it? To lend an open ear and eye with this ember of awareness to this present state of lack of stimulation, with all the arising wishes, physical and mental, for something to happen, stimulating the imagination when nothing can be turned on TV or so. The imagination can always work to produce video upon video with soundtrack. And to face it freshly as an explorer, traveling through a new land. One has been there all the time, but one hasn't really traveled through it, wondering openly, what is happening? What is this all? Let me feel it, sense it, listen to it openly without drawing any conclusions. One of the conclusions usually drawn is, this is going to last forever. I have to do something about it. And to listen to all of these statements issuing from what one calls a state of boredom. The whole thing in a new light of wondering, in an open light, because the birds are there and may be heard with a new sensitivity. Because the antennae are not just into the imagination of what I could do or could be doing, but into what's here, now. Because other things happen in this state that we call boredom, of lack of the habitual stimulation and programming, going to work, working, everything is scheduled in one's life, coming home, cooking, or the family and entertainment. The absence of that brings up, or may bring up, all of what is being bound or banished by this working and entertaining and pressuring and scheduling. And what usually comes up is fear, anxiety, which is kept in abeyance through working. All the activities that occupy our daily life. So here it comes up. There's nothing to tie it or bind it. And here we come back to what we said earlier. There's no problem to be with it. This moment of fear, and again, not calling it fear, not calling it boredom, not calling it anything, but what is it? In a gentle way, being that, as it were, with this ember of awareness. Watching how the mind is trying to explain it, to anticipate, it's going to get worse. I know my fear. I don't like it. I can't stand it. It's going to kill me. And to hear all of these statements and assumptions and question every one of them, whether it's really telling the truth. One may find not one of them is. Not running away from anything, but facing whatever comes up this moment. It leaves no room for fear. Fear just manifests itself as certain unpleasant physical sensations, which need not be interpreted as signaling danger. The brain does it automatically. Certain feelings signal danger, and the brain may project possibilities or search for dangers, and will always find dangers from its repertoire of past dangers, which is probably infinite. So, the art of being with what the body manifests, unpleasant, feeling unpleasant, uncomfortable, painful, and not running away from it, not knowing it, not separating from it, one hair's breadth. just this gentle question, this gentle wondering about it, without any gap there. Discerning, knowing about it, and letting go of knowing about it, because this moment is not yet known. What is known is the past, but not this instant. So what is this instant of discomfort without knowing it? Feeling it out, so to speak, all the way, whatever's there. Noticing the resistance and not going with it, because resistance is based on assumptions. Mental assumptions and organismic assumptions. I can't stand it, sort of bracing against it. One person was reporting this, I believe, experiencing resistance for quite a while in this retreat and really letting it be, realizing it. There was some will in this. Packaged into resistance is will. I was seen clearly, and the thing dissipated upon close inspection. Not critical inspection with a motive to get rid of it, to censor it, but interest. What is it all about this human being? And maybe in discovering more and more about this human being that's sitting here right now, we are in fact discovering about each other in a new way that is not antagonistic or need not be. The antagonistic habit may arise very quickly when this ember of attention is ashed over. And there may be again the antagonism against you who's got it in for me, or who are dangerous, I'm afraid of you. But you are also afraid of me. We're the same. Afraid of each other, attached to ourselves, not even knowing what we are, what it is that we're attached to. It's all habit, with its painful and pleasurable sensations. That's so for you and me and everyone in this universe. Very sure about that. Even though the contents of experiences that have once aroused the fear may differ. Obviously differ. They differ. We're not right now Rwandans on the move again. But in some sense we are all refugees. Refugees from what? What are we fleeing from? All the time. And is it necessary? Even though being with this moment for the moment seems utterly boring, unexciting, so that the thought, is that all? Or so what? Can be very powerful in sort of debunking being here. So one has to watch for these debunking statements and not believe them to be very honest or true. They come out of whatever past, whatever expectations. In connection with boredom, sometimes people, or maybe not, boredom may not be brought up in this connection, but people mention to me that they miss something here. That silent sitting is not all that is needed or that can be useful. Some people feel very strong need of movement. Well, of course, we have 230 acres for moving. One is free to take walks, or even, I remember in particular one person who comes to retreat, she loves to do some dancing, Sufi dancing, which has found very helpful, very freeing to being here. So, if one has this need or urge or feels this is what the body could use right now, then find oneself a ravine, a gorge, or some place to do some dancing or singing. It's mentioned here and there, missing the chanting, which is a wonderful, energizing and focalizing thing, chanting together. Those of us who've done it may have fond or not fond memories of it. This is the problem with all of these things. Not everybody who has done it has enjoyed it. A lot of people who have done it have a lot of painful experiences and memories with it. And how will one sort of find the right chant for everyone? Just Kyle taped for me a Moyers program in which he traces the history and expression of the Amazing Grace. I love that song. The first time I heard it, I had never heard it before until I saw that program, and it just struck me. It was incredible. I would have loved to sing that without any accompaniment, like some of the singers do in there, in a church with tremendous acoustics. Made me sort of shiver, the goose pimples. Now, somebody here may say, Amazing Grace? Forget it. Of course, the chorus from the last movement of the Ninth Symphony does similar things to me. Or other choral works from St. Matthew's Passion. Very timely. Who would like to chant that? Some people would, others would say, no, not that. I would like Buddhist chanting, or Hindu, or American Indian. I'm not trying to be facetious, I'm really looking at it. And know from experience that usually we can't agree. The only thing, no, we can't even agree on not doing any chanting, because some people would like it, would find it helpful. But is it all right for people? But then you'd have to chant alone. Find some place, and people do that. Do some music. One person comes with his viola once a year, and he finds a place in a ravine and plays the viola. It lacks the participation thing, but is it that we never can have everything? Or can we have everything? When we're not there, then we don't have it. It is there. But I'm not denying the need for the organism to do all kinds of things. So, if one can find it for oneself and renounce for the time being the communality of it, because we're not trying here to force anybody into anything, except working for 1 hour to get the meal on the table or the place cleaned up, which I think we are all in agreement with, because we all participate in that. if one cannot have what the body seems to crave this moment, singing or dancing, or doing something that is not taking place here or not possible to do, it's always the possibility of being with that seeming lack without knowing it. What is it? We will end here for today.